the class now. Good afternoon, everyone. This is me again, Dr. Sameh, and this is AA100A, and we have just started now. I'm sorry. Again, for recording purposes, this is me, Dr. Sameh, and this is AA100A, and we're doing the rest of the chapter on poetry. A couple of minutes ago, we had a question by Fatma Bilal, I assume, and she was talking about um, this idea of priority when it comes to reading a poem. Should we start with the form or should we start with the ideas? And I was saying that you cannot help but read. If you read a poem, you get affected by the ideas there are, but this should not be our primary focus. Our primary focus would be to establish the literariness of the poem. What makes the poem a poem? And obviously, what makes a poem is not the ideas, because the ideas can be expressed in all and across all the genres. If you talk about war, so war can be dealt with in a poem, and can also be dealt with in a novel, in a short story. So obviously it's not the theme that distinguishes a poem from a non-poem. It's the formal aspects, and those formal aspects can be, the rhyme, the rhythm, the internal music, the imagery, and of course, what we're trying to do all the time would be to kind of prove how form can help propel or move the theme forward, communicate the theme to the reader. What else? We'll go now to the rest of the chapter on poetry. Today we're doing D.H. Lawrence, and D.H. Lawrence promises to be very interesting and engaging, and perhaps because of how weird he is when it comes to the ideas that he is presenting. His ideas are maverick, if maverick can be used to describe things. He is a dissenting voice. Remember the idea that cuts across what we have been doing over the past few months was the idea of dissenting and having dissenting voices, and we have seen that across the genres. We have seen that with Christopher Marlowe and his Dr. Faustus. We have seen that with Cézanne in his non-traditional poetry, and we have seen that with Plato when he rejected traditional moral beliefs, because he is a rationalist, and rationalists believe that everything should be challenged and everything should be assessed, and the tool of assessment would be the mind. So this time around, in the poetry part that we're doing, we also have this clash between tradition and dissent, and the clash here is, or the battleground here would be poetry and traditional poetic practices. We have seen already three poets belong to three different time periods, and we have seen how they deal with poetry. Some of them are traditional, and some of them are revolutionary in terms of their style and also in terms of the ideas that they present. So we're proceeding with the rest of the chapter. If you still remember, when we spoke, we said that it's animal poetry that we're addressing. It's not human poetry, if there is such a thing, human poetry. It's either poetry or animal poetry. So we're dealing with animal poetry this time around, or in this chapter. And animal poetry belong to different time periods, and the animal poetry that we have is in an anthology by the title of uh, the Faber what, Mr. Remember? The Faber Anthology of Beasts. And typical of anthologies, you would have, poems belonging to different poets. And you wouldn't have an author, because an author would mean that we have all the poetry written by this author. We don't have that. We have an editor who collected these different poems. Spoke about anthologies in terms of the choice of poems and how provocative and how tricky this job is, given the fact that not two people would agree on a number of poems. Whatever I like, you may not like, and the other way around. So if you have an anthologist and he has chosen poetry that is not to our liking, we would accuse him of being biased, of being, having an agenda of his own. So we spoke about that, and we will still speak more about this idea of anthologies and how to compile anthology and what goes under or into the choice of poems and the choice of poets. Okay, so we have done, like I said, John Donne, William Blake, and what's the name of this guy? The third one. This Czech poet. Yeah, Mstislav Holub. And they are not, the poems are not presented in the order that I have given. They don't start with Donne. They started rather with William Blake, which is very strange given the fact that normally in anthologies, people start chronologically in a historical way. They start with the old and they move on to the new. This is not happening. And when we asked Meldon, the anthologist, why did you do that? He said that I don't want readers to get the impression that I'm preferring the old over the new. I'm not doing that. That's why I'm dealing with it in an alphabetical order. And this is in and of itself a violation and digression and a descent from traditional anthology making traditions, where people normally start chronologically. They start with the old and they move on to the new. Let's go to the part that where we have Meldon, speak about his philosophy and rationale behind the anthology and how he defends himself and stuff like that. Okay, I think I need to share. This, this has to be. Okay. I'm hopeful that you can see the screen. I'm sharing the screen now. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Nice. So this is our friend Meldon using the Faber Book of Beasts, like I said. In this part, as I said, Meldon, or what's wrong? Can you still see the screen? And something popped up for no obvious reasons. Okay, reassure me that you can still see the screen يا جماعة. معلش.
Yeah, we can see it.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So using the Faber Book of Beasts, like I said, our focus is on beasts, and beasts are animals, right? Spoke about the history of animal poetry and animal literature in general, and we said that it has a long history. It goes as far back as Ethob or Ethob, and Ethob is a Greek author who used to write fables, and fables are stories or moral stories where you have animals given human attributes. They speak like us, they behave like us, they betray like us, they do pretty much what we do as human beings. So it has obviously a long history. I mean animal poetry. Again, if we're doing animal poetry, we are having an anthology where there is a great deal of animal poetry. The anthology chosen has been or was Meldon's anthology. Meldon happens to be a poet, an established and a seasoned poet, and perhaps that would give authority to the anthology. If the anthology is compiled and edited by a famous or a seasoned poet, people wouldn't, kind of react in a negative way when it comes to the choice of the poems. Again, we're talking about the poems, we're talking about Meldon's anthology. Last time we started off talking about what an anthology is, and we spoke about the etymology. Etymology means the history of a word. And the etymology of the word would bring us to the idea of flowers. So an anthology, if you look at the literal meaning of the word, means a collection of the flowers of verse. Verse, of course, poetry. So you collect. Not all poetry is good. You can also have poetry that is not as good or as beautiful. So you have to choose from this kind of, that's why, it's flowers that you are making. So a collection of the flowers of verse, and derives from the ancient Greek practice of collecting favorite poems. This is pretty much what we do in the modern times. We have on our phones, we have lists of not poems, but songs, and the songs are for the most part are poems, right? Popular poems, if you like. So we have that practice has always been there. But of course, there is a difference between a personal collection and an official collection of poems. You can have your own collection of poems, but they wouldn't be as popular or as those, by, if they are published through a publishing house, an established publishing house, like here we have the Faber. Obviously, Faber is a publishing house. It's not very famous, but it is. It has seen the publications of very famous poets and other literary figures. Again, if you are making your own collections, the likelihood that the collection wouldn't go beyond your doorstep is high. But if it's part of a publishing house, it would enjoy currency and people would go and buy it. Again, this wouldn't be the only reason for you to trust the anthology. Another reason would be the fact that you have an established and a seasoned anthologist who happens to be a poet. So if he has this sense of poetry, so you would trust his choices. Again, like we said, anthologies can be provocative. Again, because they would sometimes, I mean, the editor or the anthologist would choose poems that are not your favorite. They are not by your favorite poets. In this case, you would feel that perhaps he or she is biased, and perhaps he is not as, I mean, his taste is not as fine as you think it should be. Again, why not having everybody's poems? You have your 10 most favorite poems, and somebody else would have his 10 and a third. That would make it so big, and for commercial reasons that would not be commercially viable. You cannot have an anthology that is so big. So that's why the editor has to make sacrifices. He or she knows that you may not approve of his choices, but there is obviously nothing he can do about it. I mean, somebody has to do it. Somebody has to choose, and he was trusted with the choice. Again, another question would pop up about the criteria for selection. Why did he choose this poem over that one? They can have the same idea. Why did he choose this poem by that poet, and why did he choose the other one? Again, these are very legitimate questions, and sometimes you don't find, anthologists or editors who would come forward and say, listen, we have chosen because of this and that. Sometimes they put up an introduction where they explain why they have chosen, and sometimes they don't. What is interesting about Meldon, the anthologist that we have, his name is Paul Meldon, of course. What is interesting about him is that he admits, he has an introduction, first of all, where he explains why he has chosen his anthology to go in an alphabetical order, and why he has chosen certain poets over others and stuff. What is interesting about him also would be the fact that he was very frank and very candid with ideas about the poet, ideas about what he did. And he would say that, yeah, I would admit that as editors and as anthologists, sometimes we have those dictatorial and despotic tendencies. We don't accept people to question our choices or challenge those choices. And we expect people to trust our tastes and our choices and our agenda and philosophy behind the choices. So this is what he said about his anthology, an anthologist. He says that anthologists tend to be, excuse me, extremely arrogant. Arrogant means that they are full of themselves. They don't accept people to come and say and question them. They are despotic, dictatorial in their tendencies. So he describes them as being bossy, know-it-alls, and he says that I'm no different. Again, he would talk about the idea of alphabetical order in the choice of the poem and the arrangement of the poems, and that the fact that he was doing that so that you don't get the feeling that he prizes old people over the new ones. No, he doesn't have preferences. What he wanted to do would be to give you a gallery of poems from the different ages so that you can enjoy the experience by making comparisons between old and new poets and everything in between. Again, to his credit, of course, he says it all. He says that we anthologists are partial. We are, you may say that we are biased. We are dictatorial. But this is typical of the genre, if we can consider anthology making as a genre. It has limitations, and we have all types of contradictions. Yeah, I mean, when asked about not accommodating people's taste, he would say that if I would accommodate the tastes of everybody, I will end up having a very expansive anthology. Expansive means very big. So it's going to be expansive, so big, and very expensive too. And this is something that neither he nor the publishing house can afford. Again, when also asked about this alphabetical ordering, he would say that I'm doing that for people to make comparisons and also not to give the impression that the old are better than the new. What is the habit or what is the tradition in this sense? The tradition would be to start with whatever is old and then you proceed to whatever is new. And this is something that he doesn't do. He doesn't adopt an orthodox chronology. No, he doesn't. He doesn't do that. So Meldon himself is dissenting from the established traditions of anthology making. So it's not only the poems or some of the poems inside the anthology, it is the anthology itself giving us the example of deviating from the established anthology making norms. So what is his purpose? Why is he doing what he is doing? He said that his purpose is to present a selection of the best animal poems in the English-speaking tradition, which is very strange because you're talking about English-speaking tradition, but we have seen and we have taken poems, and one of the poems is a translated poem. It was not originally written in English by Holof, Mercolav, Hop. What's his name? I have a tendency to forget this guy's name. Um, so again, so the anthology is non-hierarchical, and it is meant to extend our awareness of a range of traditions of animal poetry rather than privileging one tradition. Again, in compiling an anthology about beasts, we have this that would recall the medieval genre that was also about that. It's called the bestiary. And bestiaries were gatherings of pseudo-scientific data about animals and things. and they used to have those beautiful manuscript illustrations to them, and there is also a sense of moralizing in them. Spoke about anthologies as provocative in the choices and why and everything. Now we're moving to D.H. Lawrence. D.H. Lawrence happens to be the fourth poet that we are taking. We have already taken three. Remember, we have taken John Donne, William Blake, and Miroslav Hop. D.H. Lawrence is the fourth one. D.H. Lawrence is, of course, English. And what is it that we're going to do with him? Are we going to just read his poems for the fun of it, for the enjoyment of it? Of course, no. We're doing that in order to see how different he is, how much of a nonconformist, a descendant he is, whether he is writing poetry according to the traditions or whether he is doing something else. If we talk about D.H. Lawrence, we talk about a versatile individual, somebody who writes poetry, somebody who has a number of novels to his name, somebody who also paints. So as you can see, he has a lot of talents combined in him, and one of them happens to be poetry. He writes poetry. With his poetry is all the time about searching for the identity of the individual. So there is always this question: what am I? Who am I? Why am I here in this world? And in order, what makes him, different, because these questions have always been there in poetry and on all the other poetic traditions. What makes him different would be the fact that he is always setting the human being against animals. He thinks that he can define human beings, and he can kind of establish his identity against the identity of animals. Unfortunately, in favor of animals, because he has very shocking ideas about the human race and the human species. He is always in favor of animals if he has to choose between animals and human beings. And I'm sorry, I'm spoiling it for you, and I shouldn't be. Obviously, I'm not, kind of practicing what I preach. I used to say that we shouldn't be talking about the biography of the author or read critical material about him or her unless and until we have read the poem itself. But it's a general introduction about Lawrence. Okay, so our main focus with Lawrence would be to see how far he is deviating or dissenting from the established poetic norms. Okay, so how many poems do we have for this guy? Within the anthology, we have 5 poems, and some of them may resonate with you. I mean, the fact that you may have some experience, you may have read some. One of them is called Mountain Lion. You also have Bat, and a third would be Lizard, and a fourth would be Snake. And we have a fifth, Baby Tortoise. These are 5 poems. When you look at the titles, you can almost tell that these are excellent, beast poems. Excellent in the sense that they give you a sense that they are all about animals. Okay. So when we approach D.H. Lawrence, we need to ask what kind of poems he is presenting. We need to also look at the formal aspects and the formal structure of his poems, and we need to also know whether what makes him different, what attitudes does he show, what impression does he give to us of himself, whether his poetry is anthropomorphic or not. Do we have animals speaking, behaving like us, having the same thinking attitudes or not? Okay. One I think I don't want to spoil it any further by talking about the formal aspects without really reading the poems. The first poem that we have is called Mountain Lion. Okay, and I'm not sure if you can see it. I have pasted it in here. Can you see it? Let me make it bigger and see whether you can. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
No, no.
Why not? Can you see it?
The word very small.
Okay, so let's agree on something. Can I ask you for 5 minutes? I'm sure you all have your mobiles. Can you Google mountain lion, write mountain lion and write D.H. Lawrence and read the poem like we always do. I would like you to read it out loud to yourself and then we can talk about it. How about that? So how much do we need for that? We need 5 minutes. Okay? So take up your mobile, Google Mountain Lion by D.H. Lawrence, read the poem out loud like we always do, and then come back to me so that we can talk about it. How about that? Can we do that? Of course we can. Yalla, go ahead.
Sorry, doctor, I have to search for what?
The poem Mountain Lion by D.H. Lawrence. Mountain Lion. You have the title of the poem in front of your eyes, right? So it's Mountain Lion by D.H. Lawrence. So get the poem, read it out loud, and then we will talk about it. So you may want to take down notes. Yalla. It's always good to set this poem against the previous poems, the poems that we have taken so far. Rhyme, rhythm, imagery, ideas. Okay. I know it's long, but the lines are very short, as you can see. Remember, I keep telling you, and I still tell you that you don't have to worry if you don't understand everything, because poetry is the most intellectual of the genres. It would take time. I mean, the more poetry you read, the more understanding you can have. You don't have to worry if you don't understand everything. Poetry is philosophical, and you have taken philosophy before, and you have seen how philosophy can be hard sometimes. See, and the beginning of the poem is not promising it all. Like men to men, men the only animal in the world to fear. Yeah, that's unfortunately true. Ah, any luck? Can we talk about it in 2 minutes?
Yes, doctor, I finished.
Okay, good. So did you like it?
It's kind of like a story, and I'm pretty sure there's something behind it.
Yeah, there is something.
Yeah.
It's this something that we're looking for, ya Shamsa. Have you found this something?
I clearly didn't understand that. I mean, they're talking about a face. I'm pretty sure it's not the lion face. Something's going on.
But you know what? Yeah, I think you read it once, only once, right? Did you read it only once?
Yeah, only once. Actually, this is the first time. That's why
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pretty weird
Which is
about it.
fine. Yeah, like I said, you cannot read a poem once and you come out and say, listen, I grasped everything. You will have to read it more than once. Poetry, like I said, is intellectual and is very philosophical. You're not reading an article in a newspaper, for example, where things are easy and accessible and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So it's this is what I keep saying, that we need to we deal with poetry with respect. Respect
I have
would.
a very hard problem with this specific thing.
You mean poetry? You mean perhaps you're not
Yeah,
a poetry lover or something.
yeah. I'm not a
Mm.
poetry lover,
Which is
definitely.
fine. Which is fine. Which is fine. Okay. Any other people? Have we all finished reading the poem?
I
Um,
finished.
uh,
Zakiya, go ahead. You wanted to say something.
yeah, I read the poem a bunch of times, and from what I understood, is it about is a poem from the perspective of a lion, a mountain lion, and they were on their way back to their den, and then they see a bunch of humans, hunters, coming from from the den's direction. They had hunted down a mountain, a female lion, and then when the lions see the female lion, they recognize her, and then as they make their way back to their cave, they realize that she's no longer there. And in the beginning, he called the humans this thing, right? Yeah, men, humans are the most fearful. So is it the kind of thing how humans see lions as scary and fearful creatures, but then from the perspective of the lions, humans are more fearful because they hunt and kill their kind just for the sake of fur and stuff like that. Is this the meaning behind the poem? Because this is what I understood.
Yeah, you understood a lot. Thank you for your insights. Yeah, I mean, if you give yourself the right to, call them wild and vicious and voracious, you would give them the right to also look at you and give their own perspective. And this is actually
Mhm.
what is happening. So it's reciprocal. You say something and they say something back. This is one of the statements that perhaps uh, G.H. Lawrence is advocating. You don't give yourself the right to label animals, and you don't expect them to label you back. Um, Thank you, Zakiya. That was
Okay.
much. Thank you
Welcome.
so much. Can we have somebody else? Other perspectives, other angles of vision, if you like?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah, Taima.
I noticed that there are Spanish phrases or words.
Yeah.
They mention the wolf, the blood of Jesus, and it's beautiful. I believe that they are talking about maybe some rituals or something that they are doing related to the religion, maybe.
It's some kind of sacrifice, but there is nothing religious about it. The fact that they sacrificing an animal, the lioness that we have here, the mountain lion or lioness that we have here is being sacrificed for the pleasure and the fun and the diversion of human beings. And this is obviously what uh, what D.H. Lawrence is against.
Yes, maybe they are celebrating a sacrifice or something like that.
It's not literal sacrifice because we don't have this, but you have this rhetorical sacrifice, if I may call it this way.
Yes.
It's, it's again you. Okay, go ahead. Go on.
Maybe they are describing it in a metaphorical way, right?
Yeah, yeah, more or less. Yes, thank you. Any more insights? Beautiful as they are. Oh, okay. So how did we start and how did we end? Look at the beginning of the poem and look at the end of the poem. Remember this line that I told you about? What do they say? And obviously the poem, we have more than one speaker in the poem. So it's you have two speakers, and they can be, like Zakiya is saying, these can be animals observing what is happening. They can be other tigers or other lions. Okay, and they are looking at the scene, and they are observing what is happening. So what was the remark about human beings? Remember what they said at the beginning about human beings?
They are hunters.
The only animals.
Ah, yes, they are the only animals that you should be afraid of. Human beings scare you off. This is what they think, right? And at the end, if you look at the end of the poem, who's going to be missed? I mean, look at the number that we are given. If
Yeah, he said that 2 million people can die and no one would miss them, but
human beings, right? People,
yeah.
2 million people. Can you imagine? And nobody's going to miss them. Okay, go on, ya ayah. And what did he say after that?
But he said that there was a large gap left after the mountain lion was dead.
Yeah. So he is setting 2 million people against only one lion, mountain lion. Okay. Who is going to be missed according to him? It's the lion, right? According to him, lions and animals for that matter are perhaps more important than 2 million human beings. What do you think of this? Don't you think that this is insulting?
He might just be.
Yeah, did you get insulted?
Not insulting, but maybe just exaggerating.
Why does he say that? Any idea? Yeah. Yeah, Ahoud, do you want to say something? She comes and goes. She comes and, yeah, okay. Sorry. Bottom line. What's the bottom line? So what is the statements? He is making a statement. What is this statement that he is making? D.H. Lawrence, of course.
Maybe how precious an animal's life is and how significant it is on Earth.
Yes. He didn't stop there. You could have glorified animals. You could have spoken about them in very beautiful terms. But he didn't stop there. Right?
It's like he's saying that humans had it coming, and maybe the death of human beings is they're the ones to blame because of all the wars and the greed, or I might connect it in this way. Like animals, they're just going on and living their own lives, and they hunt to eat or to protect themselves, and just humans come in and they hunt them for fun or for their
yes. Yeah,
so
this is
why their
exactly.
life is more significant than humans, maybe. And we are.
But I mean, he's not obviously. Obviously, he's not interested in what human beings are doing to other human beings. This is perhaps in other poems, but as far as this poem is concerned, he's focused on the relationship between animals and human beings, and how human beings treat animals. Obviously, they don't treat them in the best of manners, right?
True.
And he comes out of this kind of equation that he is making. He's trying to say, this is how human beings behave. They plunder, they kind of mess with everything. If we set them against animals, I think animals are more useful. I think animals are more, according to him, are more important. And the conclusion would, the exaggerated conclusion would be that if 2 million people get killed or die, we wouldn't miss them. But if only one single lion or animal gets killed or dies, we would miss it, big time, right? So if this is part, this poem contributes to an overall philosophy that this guy has. So this philosophy is based on the idea that he has such disgust, if you like, of human beings. He does not believe that human beings are good, which is obviously what? For the most part, we believe that human beings are fine. Human beings are good by nature, and it's only the environment or the circumstances that can change them, right? But you're born pure and simple, if you like. You're born innocent until further notice. So obviously, he is against that. He has a philosophy that says that human beings are corrupt, are not morally upright. Okay, so and this poem is the first in a long line of poems where he talks about just that. Okay.
Sorry, doctor.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you please re-explain what is the purpose of the poem, because I didn't get it.
It's basically about the philosophy that Lawrence is showing here and in other poems. The idea that he is, if he has to choose between human beings and animals, he would choose animals because he believes that animals are more precious, are more innocent, and that human beings are corrupt, and they are not as good as they think they are. So we have an example here where we have seen things from the perspective of other animals, how they look on human beings. The human beings that we have here are hunters who have guns. And in front of them, we have animals, of course, that do not have guns. And what is it that they carry in their hands? They have the remains, or what seems to be the remains of a lion or a lioness. They killed it, they hunted it, and hunting, of course, means killing. And there are those questions about the why did they do that? Why do they have to do that? Don't they have other means of survival? Do you have to eat the flesh of other animals to survive? Don't you have something else to do? This is what he is trying to talk about, and towards the end he makes it explicit that he has those feelings of disgust against human beings. The fact that for him, 2 million people dying would mean nothing. But if only one single animal or lion dies, that would mean a lot. Okay, this is all ideas. How did he deliver those ideas? Remember, we said that we need to look at the formal aspects and see how those formal aspects help us understand or help the poet communicate his ideas. Do we have repetitions? Because this guy is also very known for his repetitions. Did he repeat anything?
Actually, I think the concept or the idea of this poet is stupid. Sorry for saying that.
Sorry. There is, as you're going to discover, look at the lines. Look at the lines and see. What do you think of this
Doctor?
idea? Yeah, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, doctor, I just want, sorry for cut you off, but I have an appointment right now, but I just want to ask you about my grade.
Yeah, your grade is very low. If I still remember, your grade is very low because you have plagiarized big time, yeah, Al-Bandari. Hello? Hello? Okay, so obviously she left. Okay, so let's go back to the poem. So this lack of consistency, the fact that some of the lines are very long and some of them are short. So what does this tell you about the poet in this poem, of course? Does it give you a feeling of confusion? Perhaps he's confused. Perhaps
Yes.
he is, I mean, he doesn't know how to assess human beings.
Yeah.
He's a human being, and of course, it's very hard for him to say that human beings are bad and everything. But he is torn apart, obviously, between his loyalty to his species as a human being and also the values of love and compassion for other species and for animals. So this idea of, I mean, the fact that you're torn between these two strands can make you confused, right? Can make you, express the ideas in this very confusing way, long lines, short lines, right? I'm trying to tell you that form is as important as content. If you look at the poem very deeply, you will come up with conclusions because the form, like we always say, informs the content and the ideas. Okay, طيب. So we're talking about one of those poems. You will, when you look at the poem and the other poems, you're going to see that it is written in free verse. And free verse and no rhymes, which reminds us, of course, of Hallam. Remember the fly, where it was written in free verse. And the fact that he manipulates line endings in order to stress certain ideas. Lawrence completely registers the pathos, feeling of sadness of the animals there. When you look at the poem, you would see that he describes the animal in a very long line, and then the second line is only the word dead. Again, if we talk about repetition and description and long lines, we talk about traditional poetry, but he uses it in order to kind of deliver his ideas home. So the poems focus on how animals differ from the people who look at them. And then we have another poem. This one is called Baby Tortoise. Can you see it? I'll make it as big as I possibly can. Can you see it, Jama?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, I think it's clear, right?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead. I'll give you 4 minutes to read it again. on your own and out loud, and then come back so that we can discuss it.
I finished, Doctor.
This is too fast. Yeah, poetry shouldn't be dealt with this way. Yeah. What's your name?
Shamsa.
Shamsa. This is too fast.
It's very depressing.
No, you need to take your time with poetry.
Like, I did a quick search about him. Why is he so
No.
depressed? What happened in his life?
Well, human beings are. Yeah, we'll talk about this aspect, this biographical aspect. The fact that his father and mother had those, kind of tensions between them.
I really wanna take him and put him on a couch and tell him, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
Why are you so depressed?
Am I missing something? Did I? Can somebody go and check the whether this is the whole poem or I have taken part of it?
Actually, it's
Can
a
somebody?
Here, the poem
Is,
is longer than the.
It's a longer
is what?
poem.
it's
Is
a
The
what?
poem is longer than.
not the whole poem.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. You mean it's longer than that?
Yes, it's very long.
Where did I? Where is the rest? Very strange. That's
Uh,
why I'm looking. I'm looking for something against human beings, and I don't find any. I said he changed his mind or something, but obviously no.
can I send it to the group?
Yeah, send it. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so now that you have the other part that I don't have in front of my eyes, I would like you to tell me about the part where human beings are mentioned in the. I'm sure he has something about human beings, whether he is portraying them in the best of lights or otherwise. Those who have read the poem, what does he say about human beings?
I think the first one was he when compared it to a baby,
Mm-hmm, yes.
where the tortoise is making progress and the baby hasn't made any, not as much as the tortoise.
Yeah, what do you think of this idea that why does he get this impression that this kind of tortoise is born alone, right? Do you know what it is to be born alone?
This
Is he projecting his own self into the poem? Perhaps he feels isolated or alone or something. What do you think? Okay, so again, let's go back to those aspects about the poem that would link it to human beings. What kind of what does he say about human beings in this poem? Those who have read the rest of the poem.
So I don't think, yeah, I just scanned through the poem because it's very long, but I don't think he mentioned anything about human beings. He's comparing the turtle to human beings, having like when he said it's your childhood, you have the whole weight on your shoulders, life carried on your shoulders. Sorry, he said it's a traveler.
Mm-hmm.
So he's comparing, giving the turtle human attributes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, do you think that he is trying to say that human beings are exactly like tortoises or tortoises in the sense that they are helpless? It's a very blind, dictatorial, gigantic world, and human beings are exactly like baby tortoises, very small, very insignificant. They are born alone and they die alone, and everything in between. What do you think?
Yeah, that's probably what he was trying to imply.
Okay, interesting. Bye.
Doctor,
Yeah, go ahead.
maybe when he asked, "Are you able to wonder?" He just mentioned that's the difference between the animals and the human.
Yes, this is the thing that I don't have here.
Yeah, because I have it.
Yes, yeah, it's. I mean, the line that you have just mentioned is very significant.
Yes. Are you
Wonder,
able to wonder? Yeah.
yeah, are you able to wonder? Wonder at what and at whom, right? So obviously he is addressing the tortoise, the baby tortoise, and he's telling it that you just came to life, and there are human beings on the other uh, part of the fence, and they are committing atrocities, and they are butchering each other, and they are butchering other animals. Are you wondering at what is happening? Are you able to think of that or not yet? So again, it's an indictment of human beings, if you like. Yeah, this is the part, yes. Are you able to wonder? Or is it just your indomitable will and pride of the first life looking round and slowly pitching itself against the inertia which had seemed invincible? So he is describing life as inertia. Inertia is the state where you don't do nothing. Life is stand still. So this is the kind of world that the tortoise is coming into. So obviously, if he is criticizing something here, he's criticizing human beings and the universe around. I mean, coming to life is not a very beautiful feeling for him. Okay? Right. Again, this idea of questioning is typical of him. And obviously, he's not waiting for an answer. When you have questions asked like this in poetry, we call them rhetorical questions. Questions that are meant to kind of engage us, that are meant to have us think of things beyond the question. Again, you have a great deal of repetition, which is typical of him. And then we move to another poem, and this poem is called Bats. If you have the poem, can you go and write bats and then next to it DH Lauren and see what will come out? If only I have it. No, I don't. I have it. Just give me a second and it will show. Let me share it with you. What did I do? Can you see it?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. Yalla, go ahead, read it, and then we talk about it. It's long, so when you finish the first part, let me know so that I can move forward. Done يا جماعة؟ Somebody is irritating me. Let me block here for a change. Block user. Goodbye. Okay, can we talk about it? Hello? Are we still there? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, where are you?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Okay, so what do you have to say about the poem, if any?
Well, I think it's interesting.
Okay.
And well, I don't know what to say.
Okay, yeah, you have said enough. Interesting, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Doctor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I got the idea. He described the bats how sleep upside down
Okay.
like the rug, and he mentioned that it's a disgusting way. So uh, disgusting way. So
So,
there is nothing neutral in this poem.
you mean you're trying to say, I mean, he looks different
Yeah,
every time. Yeah.
he show his feeling.
Okay. So, which would come as a surprise, given the fact that he is very much in favor of animals, right? It's very
Yes.
strange that he doesn't like bats, and obviously the whole poem is about how disgusting they are as creatures,
Yeah, he
which
show
is
his feeling
the
so fast.
yeah, this is a little bit this is a change of heart or attitude. We'll see other poems, we'll look at other poems and see whether he will have the same attitude, or is he going to return to his old attitude, the idea of glorifying animals at the expense of human beings. Okay, so
Doctor,
yes,
I have an analysis for that.
okay, go ahead.
Maybe he's trying to send a message that anyone who is different, he wouldn't be admired from others. Maybe he metaphor this feeling by describing how he feel towards bats.
Well, I mean, it's as simple as communicating a feeling of disgust. The fact that obviously not all animals are equal in according to him. He would admire a snake, who would admire a lion, but he also have his revulsions against some animals, and bats happen to be one of them. So he doesn't like bats. It's as simple as this. Um, Again, this is a change because we know his love and admiration for animals, but obviously he is discriminatory when it comes to animals. He picks and chooses. So Lawrence captures the emotions of disgust by elaborating the simile of bat sleeping like an old rag. So the mixture of bewilderment and revulsion, hatred and disgust that the bats stimulate. So they are inverted, disgustingly upside down, which is something that he doesn't. He even compares them to other birds, and he said that the other birds are long gone, and the only thing that remains or that is there is the bats, and this is something that he doesn't like. Again, we have repetition, and obviously repetition here is not this stupid mechanical kind of repetition. It is a deliberate kind of repetition that is meant. And what does he mean by them? This is called strategic repetitions, which have the effect of dramatizing his viewpoint. So Lawrence's repetitions are rhetorical. Rhetorical means that they serve rhetorical purposes. They help him communicate his ideas. They attempt to persuade us of something. This is called verbal resonance. I mean, what we have here is the force of verbal resonance. Again, even Paul Milton, when he spoke about Lawrence's repetitions, he said that these are not just, signs of, lack of skill or something. No, he means it. Another interesting thing about Lawrence would be the idea that he excites you with all the kinds of emotions that he would bring to his poems. Sometimes he is disgusted, he is intrigued, he is curious. He is fascinated by the creatures that he encounters. So there is nothing neutral about him or about his poetry. You can almost feel this verbal energy, permeating through his poetry. Again, if you think of the ideas, you would see that he has those determined ideas, determined in the sense that he thinks of life in a mechanical way. The fact that it's very cruel, it's the environment play a major part in it. You don't have much, control over your destiny. And again, you would have this polarity between human beings and animals in favor of animals, of course. Again, we come back to remember this mountain lion poem where we might spare 1 million or 2 million of humans and never miss them. Yet, what a gap in the world, the missing white frost face of that slim yellow mountain lion. One in front of 2 million people. See? So it's again, you almost feel it throughout the poems. You have this fascination with the animal world alongside a pervasive disgust at human culture. So fascination with the human world and disgust at human culture. And we have another example. We have the snake. I think I have it. Let me share it with you. Can you see it? No. Can you see the snake?
Yeah, it's a black screen.
I think you can see it now, right?
No, no,
No.
Not yet?
no.
None of you? Okay, type, let me check again. Does it appear now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. You guys have 4 minutes, read it. It's long, so you need to alert me so that I can move on. It's a lovely one. You're going to like it or hate it. عليك السلام. الله يكرمك. لا عن المحاضرة.
We are done, doctor.
Okay.
We're finished.
Finished how? I didn't move down the poem. I'm reading it with you. Okay. So what do you think of this poem? So obviously we have two contradicting positions or stands when it comes to animals. In the first two poems, if you still remember, he was glorifying animals. He was saying very beautiful things about them. And he was also denigrating people and saying very bad stuff about them. And then we had the bats, where he started to change, where he would say very bad stuff about bats, right? And then we have the snake. So where does he stand? Is he with the first two poems, where there is this love and passion and admiration for animals, or disgust as in the bats? Where does he stand?
I think somewhere in the middle, where
Here?
he's not glorifying the snake, but he is in awe of the snake. At the same time, he thinks he
Okay.
should kill the
So if he says, for example, if he says, wait.
But I think his attitude changes.
Yeah. I'll give you something and you tell me whether this is, thinking highly of the snake, or thinking, in bad. So I looked around like a god, unseeing into the air. And when he says also, I felt so honored. Was it humility to feel so honored? I felt so honored that the snake decided to come and drink from my basin, or whatever, and this container of water that he has. So obviously, he made up his mind about where to stand. Obviously, he is standing with animals, as represented by the snake here, against human beings. Look at this part where he says, I despised myself and the voices of my accursed human education. You know, accursed means damned. He thought for a while of killing him, and this is the natural instinct for human beings. If you see an animal, especially if it's a snake or a lizard, the first thing you do would be what? You kill it, right? So he thought of that. He thought of killing it, but now he regrets it that he had this thought, right? For he seemed to me again like a king. What do you think of that? And so I missed my chance with one of the lords of life. He's referring to the snake as one of the lords of life.
Doctor,
So what
can
do
I
you
say?
think? What do you think? Is he for the snake or against it?
I think he's
he is admiring the snakes,
Yeah, yeah.
and
He is
maybe
admiring. And, you know, conventional wisdom would tell him that whenever you see a snake, you pick up something and you hit it with it, right? And he thought about that. This is how he got educated. As a human being, this is the education that he received. Whenever you have an animal like this, just hit it, kill it once and for all, right? And he thought about it as a human being, right? He considered it, but over time he says, what came into me? No, I shouldn't have reacted this way. And he started to heap praise on the animal, on the snake, comparing it to a god, comparing it to a king, right? Regretting the fact that he ever had the thought of killing it. Isn't that praise enough? So he is obviously maintaining his attitude towards animals. The fact that he likes animals at the expense of human beings. What does he say about human beings here? He's referring to human beings and their education as accursed. Accursed means damned, right?
doctor,
Yes.
maybe he's trying to say that there's no need to kill an animal unless he's not hurting you or not
Yeah,
attacking you.
yeah,
So
yeah. This
the
is, yeah. He's
example
making
is
a
just
statement. He's
animals
making
or
a
nothing.
statement. He's saying that this is your first instinct when you see an animal. You know, normally those small animals that we have, if we talk about lizards, if we talk about, you know, mice, the first thing, cockroaches, the first thing you do is you stamp it with your feet. ولا إيه؟ Guys saying no. Those guys have the right to exist. They have every right to survive. Killing them is not a good thing. Killing them would show our bloody nature as human beings. So again, what I'm trying to say, this is part of his ongoing project or enterprise. An enterprise and a philosophy that is based on admiration and love for animals and hatred and disgust at human beings. Isn't that strange? Right? Okay. As human beings, how do we look at ourselves? I mean, for the most part, we say that we're يعني the best of all creatures, and we were blessed by the power of reason and the fact that God has chosen us of all the other creatures and everything. This is the traditional view. This is how we see ourselves. So when we have him, when we have D.H. Lawrence coming and saying, no, this is not how I perceive human beings. Human beings are corrupt. Human beings are blood sucking. They kill at the least provocation. So he is obviously deviating and dissenting from the the established moral view that we have of human beings. So he is not only dissenting in form by not having rhyme, rhythm, he is also dissenting in content, in ideas. Are you getting the idea?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go. Of course, people would say, and this is what Aya said at one point. Aya said that this is a little bit exaggerated. Yes, there is an element of hyperbole to it. So it's very hyperbolic. Hyperbolic means exaggerated. Again, why? Why? Somebody was asking me about that. I think it was Shamsa saying, why is he acting the way he does? Why is he hating human beings that much? So this is the answer. The fact that he was shaped by the conflict between his working class father and his more middle class mother. So obviously his father and mother were not a good match. She was perhaps richer than himself. And they had all these kinds of tensions. And if you have kids, they kind of get affected by whatever tensions there are. Again, he has his problems. The fact that he wasn't happy, he left. He was disenchanted with Britain. He was also there was this First World War where millions of people got killed, but that would add to his anger against his country and also against the world and human beings in general. He was an outsider. He wouldn't settle. And if you have somebody who moves a lot, sometimes it's he doesn't feel that he belongs here or there. He doesn't stick around. Not sticking around would also mean that he doesn't feel happy or settled or satisfied. I told you that he was also a painter, and his painting also reflects that. If you put the paintings together with the poems, you can have an overall assessment of him as a hater of human beings. And then we have the leather. I don't have it. So if you have it, okay, I hope you can see that snake is a different poetic proposition from leather, where the latter, leather, boldly asserts the superiority of leathers to men. There is something very interesting about the leather. I think we can have up to 10 minutes and that would be it. So can we have the leather? I don't have it handy. If I would like you to go and check, look it up, leathered everyone, and we can talk about it in 4 minutes. Yalla, go ahead. Leathered, and leathered is going to be our last. I know you're tired and everything.
Doctor, can I ask you for something?
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Can you please give us extra time for the quiz? I think it's really hard to finish everything in one day.
No, I mean, you guys had, I mean, I shared the videos with you like 10 days ago.
Yes, but it's really tough. There's lots of
No, I
information.
mean, we're not going to ask you. I mean, it's you know, multiple choice questions. You're not going to write. We're analyzing. We didn't read anything, right? So it's all analyzing poem. The reason why I take so long with you in the poems, I'm trying to teach you how to handle poems. We could have read the chapter in one class and that would be it, right? So it's about the experience of reading poetry. It's about the experience of coming up with your own interpretations. So the preparation that you need would be for the final exam, where you will be given a number of questions to write. Yeah, essay. You're going to write essays. But here tomorrow it's going to be multiple choice questions and you know, true and false. And
About the final, are we going to have enough time to finish the last chapter? And which days are we going
of
to
course,
complete
the final is when?
It's on the 19th.
But we still have it. So we're only the 7th. If we meet next time and the time after, yani next week can be our last. I mean, we can meet if we agree on Monday and on Tuesday, or Monday on Wednesday, we can finish next week.
We need 3 classes to finish the last
No,
chapter.
I think we need only 2 classes. And I'm not going to digress and talk about other issues. I will focus. If we focus, we can finish it, you know, in one class, if you like. Okay, so you're reading the letter because this is going to be our last in this chapter. What I want you to do or get from the chapter, I would like you to confirm whether he is maintaining his philosophy about the love of animals against human beings, or is he changing his attitude like he did with the bats? This is what I want you to look up or look for in the poem, the leathers or the lizard. Do you have a change of attitude where he comes back to his humanity and say human beings are the best? Or is he confirming the philosophy that we have been following, the philosophy that is based on disgust for human beings and love and admiration for animals? Where does he stand? Anybody? Lizard? So is it true? Is it true that in lizard, he is asserting the superiority of lizards to men, that lizards are superior to men? Did you get that feeling?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. So if you still remember, the snake dramatizes the conflicted feelings the snake arouses in Lawrence. Okay? So the poem records an event which transforms the speaker's perception and offers to reshape the thinking of its readers. And the lizard, again, it's a continuation of this idea of the superiority of animals to human beings. We're done. Class. This is basically what the chapter is about. Do you have any questions, everyone, or anyone?
No, doctor.
Okay. طيب, let's agree on next week, and I wish that we can meet earlier than Wednesday. If we can meet on perhaps Sunday and Monday, so that we can call it a semester by Tuesday. So what do you think? Can we meet on Sunday?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes.
Okay, so what time is convenient?
And the same time.
What do you think, everyone?
Sorry, doctor, but what day?
What?
Which day?
Well, we're talking about Sunday.
Okay.
So Sunday.
I have lecture in Sunday, doctor.
On Sunday you have a class. The whole day?
What?
You're going to have the whole day, you will have a class the whole day?
For two دقيقة.
دقيقة. ماشي، قولي ما فيش مشكلة.
من 2 ل4 من 2 to 4 I have.
طيب. What do you think? Should we have it before or after?
After, please.
As you like, doctor, no problem.
After?
Yes, after.
طيب, do you have anything on Monday? عشان برضو ما نتعبش حد. Monday, do you guys have any classes on Monday?
No.
طيب. Would Monday be fine with you all?
Yes.
Yes.
What time?
Type, this is what I'm asking you about. So what time would be convenient? So Monday.
From 2
the same time, 4 to 6.
4 or 2, and somebody said 2. Would 2 be convenient? Wala 4 wala ايه?
It's perfect, I think.
2 is perfect?
Yes, 2.
Yeah.
For me too, yes.
يلا.
Okay.
يبقى Monday 2. How about Tuesday? We only need 2 classes, Monday and Tuesday. What do you think of Tuesday?
Okay, no problem.
2 p.m.?
The same time.
Yes, 2 p.m. طيب, ممتاز. Okay, can somebody post that on the group for those who didn't come today? Okay.
Doctor,
Okay. Now,
please, before
yes.
you leave, can you give us some points how to write the essay for the final, because our marks in the TMA, so
Yeah, what I noticed, and I spoke about that in the group yesterday, if you have a bad mark, it means that you are doing one of 2 things. You're either copying and pasting from the internet.
I didn't.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about you. Perhaps you're the other thing that I was going to. And sometimes the language is not up to the standard, and I cannot ignore that, because you guys are not your English department students now. You have taken EL 117, which is a course in writing. You have taken EL 111 and EL 112, and these are also courses in writing. So what more do you need, right? So that's, I mean, language is very important, and also the idea of developing ideas. It's not about facts. I know the facts. I need to see you manipulate the ideas that you have and you put them in a persuasive way where you have an argument. Okay, so it's obviously not about giving me information. I don't need information. If you know the difference between information and knowledge, I need knowledge. I give you information perhaps, but you give me knowledge. How can you give me knowledge? By writing an essay that is compact, that has development. You promise me something in the introduction, you say I'm going to talk about this and that, and I go to the rest of the essay and see you deliver on your promises. You write in a nice way, you develop your ideas, you back up your claims with examples and illustrations, and that way. I know it doesn't happen overnight, but you need to start. And it's you need to write a great deal, whether we ask you to write or not. By the way, you haven't written for so long, and that can be a problem in the fine, like it was a problem in the TMA. Try to train yourself from now. Otherwise, you're going to have perhaps a writer's block in the final exam, and the next thing you know is that excuse me, that you cannot resist the urge to copy and paste. And if you copy and paste, I promise you that would be yeah. So again, it's about trying. It's about writing as much as you can. You write and you make errors and mistakes. That's not a problem. Okay, you go on trying until you get it, right.
Doctor, what the present do you want for the essay when we write the present?
You mean what tense or
Tense.
tenses?
Sorry, the tense. Yeah.
We move between what we call the historical present and the past. If you're telling us a story, which obviously we don't recommend, you use the past. But if you're analyzing, you normally use the present, the historical present.
So the both.
Okay.
Okay.
Will you be posting the rest of the grades today?
I'm not sure. It's a little bit late, and we have a workshop on IELTS, and which I invite you to attend at 8:30. But I don't believe that I would be able to mark any more. But tomorrow, inshallah, first thing in the morning. Again, do you have the link to this very interesting IELTS workshop that we're having at 8:30? Did anybody tell you about it?
No, doctor.
طيب, anyway, I'll share the link, and it's at 8:30 today, inshallah, or tonight rather. I hope to see you there, inshallah, all of you. Anyway, we're going to stop on this note and with this item, and I wish you all the luck tomorrow in your fifth and last quiz. Thank you so much, and it was nice meeting you this afternoon. Salam alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you, Doctor. Bye.
Oh, bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.